I am sitting here hoping that you're going to be showing the world that bigger win rates than what the naysayers claim are possible are actually possible. And to do that, we're going to have to push every edge. We're going to have to realize that ladies and gentlemen, this is a milestone in the race to 25 NL. We have Jurgen and Shu here, and this is Jurgen's graph over 51,855 hands. So I can confirm that we have played a meaningful sample. Jurgen, we do not know your true win rate yet over this kind of sample. This is a small to intermediate sample, and things can change. But the reason we got you guys to play 10k hands minimum per week is that we want to see your actual results over a time frame where we can measure them. And you are winning at 1.81 BB per 100 so far. You're about the same as your all-in EV, so not running good or bad in that respect. Your red line looks quite swingy to me, which means that you're doing plenty of aggressing. You're not playing like a nit, which is great. Neither of you are playing like a nit. How do you feel the first 51,855 hands of this challenge have gone for you?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty okay with it. But yeah, there's still a lot of improvement and stuff that I can learn. I do hope that it's less swingy in the future and it's more gradual, because that's something I noticed, and that could be with just playing my really bad game when I run really bad. And for now, I mean, I've been running not the best and not the worst, so that's fine. So I hope I can remove the steep lines a bit more.
So one of the defining factors for this challenge for you could be how bad is your worst game and how often do you bring that worst game to the table. That could be the thing that gives you a chance, or a good chance, Shu, to win this race to 25 NL. Could be if Jurgen falls apart. Let's have a look at your graph, Shu. Here are your results. You've played less hands than Jurgen, but I can confirm that over 38,813 hands, still a decently small to intermediate sample, you have the following graph. You are winning at 2.92 BB per 100. In a sense, you're ahead in the race to 25 NL, Shu, because you have a higher BB per 100, but you've played less hands. And we need to decide how we're actually going to measure this. I wonder if we should be measuring EV BB per 100. Guys, let us know what you think in the comments. Should we determine the winner based on green line or all in EV line? Let us know what you think. Okay, Shu, how are you feeling about your progress thus far in the race to 25 NL?
I definitely learned a lot during these sessions. I mean, from the course of our teaching, also from my own learning, is really motivating me, and have Jürgen always constantly on my ass. Motivating me. I'm trying to chase him. His red line looks really good. Yeah.
Don't worry too much about the red lines. I think these are going to swing. They're going to fluctuate with changes that you make and with how you run. There is some variance to the red line as well. What I would worry about is that you're getting the volume in, that your mental games are as strong as they can be, and that there is real application going on. Like you feel like the things we're studying are getting applied in game. We're going to check in with you again in a week's time and see how these graphs are shaping up. We'll always look at who's inching ahead, who's behind. If someone has a catastrophic downswing, it's going to be really dramatic. Guys, we're going to be comparing these graphs now every week, and this is going to be exciting. So you guys will just have to click that video when you see it to see who's ahead. Okay, so we've had a few comments. There was someone in the comments that every video has been saying the following.
Actually, this is very undefined and there's no real criteria as to who's going to win and what win rate it takes. This is unacceptable. It's unacceptable.
And I say to that person, fine, we'll define some criteria. God, okay. So we're going to do this for about 20 weeks. I could see this going on for about 20 weeks. That means that 200,000 hands is going to be the minimum sample for measuring ultimate win rate. Once you've played 200,000 hands, once you both have, which should only take 20 weeks by this pace, we are going to see who has the highest, I think, EV, BB per 100, but we're going to get the comment section to help us with that. And whoever that is, as long as they're positive, is going to be declared the winner of Race to 25 NL. In order to actually be given the Carrot Man blessing and be told you are now good to go, start playing 25 NL, we're going to want that win rate to be at least 2 BB per 100. I think if you guys are winning at 3-4 BB per 100, you will absolutely also be able to win at 25 NL. I don't think the step up is that much. And I think we can definitely do this. We can see early indications are that you're both winning. We don't know for sure if that's true yet, but I think you are. I think you're both playing great compared to when you first arrived here. I think you've both made marked improvements. Okay, today's topic is 3-betting and 3-bet pots. We're going to start with some pre-flop. This is an exploitative class. We're going to be talking about opening up the ranges more for 3-betting in position, much more in fact, and why that's a very good idea. I'm going to show you some stuff in Wizard, that demonstrates that, and then we're going to switch on over to some hands where each of you have played 3-bet pots post-flop with the view to triple barrel bluffing as often as possible, applying aggression on flop, turn, and river, running people over, getting that red line shoe off the ground. You do bluff quite a lot, but maybe you're still missing a few spots. Maybe you're folding a bit too much. I don't know what your red line's about. We'll cover that in your next one-to-one, but I don't think it's that bad. But we can improve your red lines with the stuff we're going to look at today. Let's get into it. This is a very important moment in everyone's poker career who's watching. Are you half paying attention from the sofa? Are you watching Netflix at the same time as Carrot Corner? What's wrong with you? Pay attention. This is going to matter for your win rates. And to yours, Jurgen, what do you think of this range? This is a button versus cutoff 3 betting range in GTO. You can see that a lot of hands are mixing cold call with 3-bet. My first recommendation to you at 10NL to crush these mortals that you're playing against is to always 3-bet every hand that's mixing green and orange being 3-bet and green being call. And that's called a soft exploit, where we shift a hand from a mix to the pure action that we think is better. Much like if you go to McDonald's and order a milkshake and you like chocolate milkshakes more than you like strawberry milkshakes, generally you just don't order the strawberry milkshake, right? Because it's just a worse option for you. And in the 10NL pool, it's a better option to 3-bet. Jurgen, why do you think that is? Why do you think the EV of 3-bet surpasses the EV of call with all these mixing hands?
Because people just play worse in 3-bet pots than in single raise pots. They overcall under 4-bet. They make way more mistakes in 3-bet pots than they do in single raise pots, especially out of position.
Yeah, and the overfold happens much more out of position than in position. I think the overcall thing is more in position, but recreationals will overcall against 3-bets. They'll call hands they should be 4-betting, call hands they should be folding, and then just play terribly on the flop. You have a lot of implied odds in position against weak players in 3-bet pots, and you also have a lot of fold equity, and that might sound like we're trying to have our cake and eat it, but because people play passively and predictably, actually there's no real contradiction there at all. If you're against a recreational player, there are going to be times they just punt and make huge mistakes, and if you're against like a tighter player, they're going to be overfolding post flop as well. So every hand here that's mixing is going to be a 3-bet for both of you. Shu, how does that feel to you? Are you okay 3-betting every hand in this range in this spot, button against cutoff, that's got any orange in it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I'm already betting all of it.
Good.
Maybe not the 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, the suited connector. I need to add those. Yeah.
And it's not just those you need to add, because I'm actually going to recommend that we do some hard exploits in this spot as well. A hard exploit is to take a hand that isn't ever 3-betting and to go ahead and 3-bet that hand. Now, you might wonder, why do we want to do that? And it all comes down to EV, right? Let's take a hand like 4s. Pocket 4s isn't ever 3-betting. So a weak poker player looks at that and says, oh, that's not a 3-bet. It's not a thing. And I say to them, shut up. What's actually going on here is that the EV, in theory, against an equilibrium strategy, a solver perfect strategy of 3-betting 4s, is basically 0. It's minus 1% of a big blind. You can see those numbers at the bottom right of your screens there. What that means is if there's any overfold, any under 4-bet going on, that hand is going to gain EV. And it's going to be post-flop if you realize more equity post-flop, if you have more fold equity pre, if you have less 4-betting going on pre, that hand is now clearly positive because it was microscopically negative before. You should now be 3-betting 4s pure. Look at pocket threes. Wait, is it 3 month at Carrot Corner still? Possibly, depending on when this comes out. Could well be that it's 33% off Black Friday sale going on or about to start. That's running, by the way, from Thursday the 27th of November through to the 4th of December. The biggest discount we've ever given you at Carrot Corner. 33% off. Yeah, play 3-3. But yeah, seriously, 3-bet pocket threes, button versus cutoff. Do it. That's only losing 8% of a big blind. That's nothing, right? That's going to swing back in your direction and more. What other hands can you go for here? Give me a guess, Shu. Look at one of those hands in blue. What else do you think might be an okay 3-bet here exploitatively?
King 6 suited?
King 6 suited is like, yeah, it's very similar. And you can see here that the raise EV is literally 0 and there is a sliver of orange with that hand. So if you follow that chart and you're like, King 8 is a 3-bet. King 7 is a 3-bet. King 6 is not a 3-bet. King 5 is a 3-bet. You're literally a maniac. Like there's something broken in your head. Clearly King 6 cannot be that different from King 7 or King 5 in real EV against humans. Absolutely. Let's go down to King 3. Again, it's only losing 3%. Guess what, guys? Every suited king should be a 3-bet button versus cutoff against this pool. Run them over. It's a bulldozer strategy. I want you guys to take it. I want to see those 3-bet numbers absolutely soar. And the good news is on GG Poker that your HUD will reset and they won't get to see your crazy 3-bet numbers for very long. And even if they do, they're probably not paying attention. All right, let me go to a different spot now. Jurgen, what do you think about this? How well are you playing in the following spot? This is the sprawling mess of a big blind versus small blind 3-bet range in Equilibrium. First question before we get to hard exploits, soft exploits. How good a job are you doing of 3-betting this much? Or this polar?
I'm probably not getting 20%.
And are you
But
polarized enough?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, good. So what hands do you think you're missing then from the Equilibrium strategy here? Big blind versus small blind?
Probably the offsuit 9s and offsuit 8s. The king and the queen 8s, 9s. Those I'm probably missing. I think those are the most that I miss.
Do you know why it's okay to 3-bet those hands?
Probably because it's not a great call and it doesn't play well pre-flop, and it's easier to just take the fold equity. Doesn't play well post-flop. Yeah, sorry.
Yep. So it's not like it's better in theory. It's very break even to like folding queen 8 off and 3-betting it. But yeah, it's not a great call. It's much more dominated than some bigger queens. Like if you look at, you know, a hand like queen 7 suited, that hand is the computer hand, the middle of the road hand, right? It's always calling. But that's because you're getting 4-bet a decent amount of the time in theory. And we know from mass data, we know from all of our geeky mining that we do, that people don't 4-bet enough at these stakes, not even close. And so every hand that has the sliver of orange here becomes a 3-bet by default. Now, I will give you a bit of a disclaimer. If you are against a reg that you're battling a lot and there's dynamic going on there and they know that you're 3-betting a ton, I want you to polarize this a bit more. If you're against someone that does 4-bet like a lot exploitatively, I want you to polarize this even more and probably not even 3-bet hands like Jack 8 suited or Queen 9. Like you maybe just want to see flops with those. But overall, I want you guys 3-betting anything with a sliver of orange here and then also finding some hard exploits. Sure, let's go back to you. How would you feel if I told you, in fact, I did tell you something like this on stream recently, that you should go ahead and 3-bet someone with 9-4 suited. I'm pretty sure I said to you 3-bet 9-4 suited blind versus blind on a recent stream. How did that make you feel?
I don't remember you told me that, but that's a little bit wild. 9-4. I don't think I ever 3-bet 9-4 suited. No.
Well, you should. And the reason is that you're better than a chart follower. You are not just this eating baked beans out of the tin chart following poker player, right? You're not sitting there with a spoon and a can of baked beans looking at the chart, clicking the buttons. No. You're making decisions based on EV. And this, from small blind's perspective at micro stakes poker, is one of the most butchered spots you will ever see. The small blind here is going to under 4-bet, call and then fold the flop. Overfold pre-flop, actually. There's actually quite a big overfold pre-flop in this node because people like to steal the small blind, but don't do a good job of defending. So if you go back to small blind strategy here, this is what they are supposed to do. Look at all this 4-betting. 22.1% of the time, they're meant to 4-bet you to 19 big blinds in the sim, and they are almost certainly not going to do that. And when they call, they're meant to do a bunch of check raise, they're meant to be a thorn in your side, they're meant to just make life difficult for you. They're not going to do that. So back to the big blind range here. The soft exploit is to always 3-bet the Jack 3 or Jack 4 or Jack 5 or Queen 5. These are now just pure 3-bets for you against an unknown. Seriously, this might sound crazy. You might be like, am I not over bluffing? It's like, yes, that's the point. You're taking the max EV exploit strategy. I'm not sitting here hoping you guys return a 1.6 BB per 100 win rate long term in this series. I am sitting here hoping that you're going to be showing the world that bigger win rates than what the naysayers claim are possible are actually possible. And to do that, we're going to have to push every edge. We're going to have to realize that increasing our EV in a vacuum is exactly what we want to be doing here with each hand. So next time you have the King 6 offsuit, it's a theoretically sound 3-bet blind versus blind. Your opponent's going to overfold. You like being aggressive anyway. 3-bet that hand. I want to see these 3-bet numbers soaring in position, especially against cutoff when you're button, and especially against small blind when you are big blind. But in order to put the icing on the cake here, we need to see how to be aggressive post-flop, how to run people over. I gave you guys a list of 10 exploits for 10 and L the other day. We're going to cover them in a video at some point, but exploit number 1 was this. Exploit number 2 was be very aggressive in 3-bet pots, triple people, bluff a lot. Let's get into that now, and we'll see how to do that. Okay, Shu, I'm going to get you to review Jurgen's hand. Honest opinion. Don't be polite. Be frank. Let's see what we think of this. So we 3-bet the 8-7. This is exactly what we've been talking about doing. So full marks for pre-flop. Jurgen c-bet small, villain calls, hijack cutoff. We hit the 8 on the turn. Is this showdown value? Should we just be checking? Jurgen decides to turn it into some sort of bet. I'm guessing this is a bluff. And then when villain calls, he jams the river for overbet. What do you think about this?
Very aggressive. I think it should get enough fold. Unless they have the ace of clubs, but it's also quite dangerous. I mean, he called the turn, and normally I feel like normally the 3-bet caller has more suited stuff, right? Like ace 10 of clubs or something. Don't want to 4-bet, and yeah. But in general, I think people in general maybe overfolding to the jam. It should work like a lot, a lot of times.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
So this is an overfolded spot in data. Like when you triple people in position in a 3-bet pot in this game, as long as they're not like the outlier player, like the really stationary looking fish or something, this is an overfolded spot. That doesn't necessarily mean that on every texture with every hand we want to bluff. It just means overall on average it's a good idea, all else being equal. So a couple of bits of feedback, Shu. The ace of clubs, I need you to get away from this a little bit. Like if they just have the lone ace of clubs, there aren't really any hands that fit that description. There aren't really any offsuit hands getting here with just the ace of clubs that would bluff catch. I don't think that's really a thing. It could be like ace X of clubs, which is never folding in some flushes, but and that's clear. But I think what really matters here is not so much what they do with a flush. They're clearly not folding a flush. What matters is like, what do they do with, you know, King Jack suited and things like that? What's the fold equity like against those hands? And I think it's actually a lot better than people think, because when you face 3 barrels, I'll ask this to both of you, but I'll go to Jurgen for a verdict. If you faced 3 barrels here, Jurgen, and you had like King 10 of spades here as hijack, how would you be feeling in this spot against this pool?
I would definitely not call.
Right.
I wouldn't be happy to call, at least. I'm not calling.
If you called, it would be out of like some sort of frustration or like not playing your best game in this pool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't think against the pool you should call it. I'm not saying, I don't know what theory actually says. I have no idea. But against the pool, you're just gonna run into ace king, and then flushes, and some sets maybe, and even sets. I think like ace king. I don't know if ace king actually loves jamming here in pool.
Yeah, I think it's too thin for this sizing. But yeah, if you call here with that hand, you're going to do pretty badly. I think that hand will be doing some decent amount of folding, probably in theory, but there will just be a lot of top pair combos that do have to call here. And there might be a frequency of bluff catch going on in theory here by like 10s with a club. You know, when you block the flush, it might be better to call against this sizing specifically. It's probably better to call 10s with a club than it is to call King Jack of diamonds. So you'll probably see that going on. I don't think the population, especially the reg population, is going to want to find calls with King Jack of diamonds or pocket 10s with a club very often in this spot, unless they're the fish type. So I think the river is probably fine. We do sometimes have the option when villain's uncapped, Like they've just hit 9s at some frequency, they could have 8s at some frequency, they could have a flush, they're never folding any of these hands. You might actually be able to find a sizing like pot here that is more efficient. Like whenever their range has a really uncapped component, one thing you could say is that, well, you're running into the nuts a fair amount of the time, and this sizing's a bit wasteful against the nuts if you can just get a lot of fold equity from potting here when they have one pair, and I think that you can. So if it's a texture where they're uncapped, maybe don't go for the overbet jam without the nut blocker. That would be like some theory coaching. And if they are more capped, you can just go for the jam sizing or whatever, almost regardless of blocker, or when it's not 3 flush, the blocker won't matter quite so much. The turn is interesting here because when people look at this turn spot, they probably think, isn't this showdown value? Like, should we not just be checking this hand? And the thing is, in an earlier position 3-bet pot, you're making better hands fold. You've got redraw to the nuts. The club has decreased your showdown value, and you're denying equity here against some hands that you're beating. Like if villain folds ace-5 here, ace-5 of hearts, you're denying a lot of equity. So I like this line. I actually think the turn bet's good. I'm not going to give the river full marks. I don't think it's the right sizing for the spot. Do we have any showdown on the river? Only if they have like ace-queen off with ace of clubs that they've called on both pre-flop and flop. It's a little far-fetched. I think this is actually a good triple spot. I think most 3-bet pot spots in this pool against regs and tighter players are great triple spots. I just would watch the sizing here on the end. I think it's a little bit wasteful, and you're not reacted to the fact that villain is actually a bit uncapped here. Because then, okay, they actually, wow, that's the hand I was talking about. This is a very stationary call, and we shouldn't be dissuaded from our plan when we face a call like this, because data is data. It doesn't really lie, and there will be stations in the pool that just can't fold top pair to this line. And it could be that you should have known it was a station. It could be there was a clue here, like the guy had a really loose VPEP or was just playing wildly, and then you should have backed off from this. Or it could be that you didn't know and you just ran into a more sticky player that's having a bad day. So
yeah, I didn't know. I remember the hand. I was actually fairly surprised to see the call with the king jack. Honestly, I was expecting. I wasn't expecting them to call him to call the king jack exactly, and I marked it as well.
Yep, good heart. Good play overall. Just watch the sizing on river. I think you can achieve a lot with a smaller size.
I didn't came up to me that pot will have the same amount of probably the same amount of fold equity than the overbet, and then you save indeed 30 big blinds or something. So against the nuts or against this hand exactly if he calls.
Yeah, so it won't have the same amount of fold equity, but the point is that it'll have a similar enough amount of fold equity that it's probably more efficient. I think if you run into a station, they're probably not caring that much about sizing. Like a station that's going to call king jack of diamonds here may well just be like not caring about sizing and just being like, screw it, I'm on tilt, I'm mad, I'm not folding, or whatever it is that's motivating this, because it's not a good call against pool.
Yeah, I have a question, is how relevant the blocker, like the club blocker it is. Like if Jürgen has a club in the hand, maybe it's better, or is irrelevant. Doesn't matter. When we're bluffing, we can just triple barrel and in position, and the villain can really call. You know, we have all the kings and aces, and well, we could have a flush, but yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, it's very relevant to your EV. Like if you have the ace of clubs here, you're going to be blocking any nut flush that the opponent's slow played, and most of their flushes will be ace high. If you have a queen or jack or 10 of clubs, it's still going to matter. Like it's going to matter a bit, but it's probably going to matter less. So it depends on the club. The ace of clubs is a very pure blocker because it basically just blocks like ace king with ace of clubs and nut flushes, which are fantastic to block because they're pretty much always calling. Those are hands that are very likely to call you. If you have the jack of clubs, you're going to block queen jack of clubs, king jack of clubs, which is great, jack 10 of clubs, which is good, but you're also going to block jacks with a club, which might be one of the hands that we're actually trying to make fold. So the ace of clubs is the nutted blocker here, and the jack of clubs is still good. And yeah, make no mistake about it, those hands are better to bluff than 8-7 of spades, but that doesn't mean that it isn't profitable to bluff 8-7 of spades. I think a smaller sizing, it probably is still profitable. It's less profitable. What you guys need to be doing is deciding whether you should bluff with the hand that you have, not comparing it to a hand that you don't have. But to answer your question, yes, it's way more mandatory and way higher EV when you have that blocker in this spot.
Okay. Are we also gonna play queens this way, like pocket queens?
No, that's got far too much showdown value. Check is worth far too much money with queens. It's a very different hand to 8-7. I'm glad you asked that, because that would be a catastrophe if you blast off with queens here. It's winning way too often as a check. While bluffing would have a similar EV, checking the hand would have a way higher EV, and then check would be better than bet. The point with 8-7 is that you almost never win by checking. You might actually win against like sixes with a club. Like maybe this hand is a check, I don't know. It's much closer to a check than, you know, ace queen off with the queen of clubs is. That's a pure bluff. This hand and in theory is almost certainly a check, but exploitatively it might be okay to bluff a smaller sizing.
So irrelevant of the club blocker, I can just do this line whenever I have like third pair or like high cards, I can just use this line. You think that's fine? in
Most
general?
of the time, yes. And if you did it like every time for now, you'd probably find your results with it were pretty good, like long term. We'll refine it though. We'll learn like where we need to take our foot off the gas. But as a default, if you've got no showdown value in a 3-bet pot and the board doesn't run out in a way that makes the opponent like tons of trips or something like that, say it was like king, queen, 5. Now second pair has just become trips. People are bad at folding top pair and dry boards. Maybe that's an exception, right? But generally speaking, yeah, the data doesn't lie. If you've got low to no showdown value, this line is going to be good. And a lot of the time with this line, you're going to pick it up on flop or turn. Like, you're not even going to need to get until the river. The river is actually a rare node. Like, it's not that every time we start tripling, we have to triple. Usually we just win the pot before the river. Okay, one more of your hands. Jurgen, Shu, what do you think about this one that Jurgen played? He 3-bets the queen 9. Again, a mixed 3-bet. We're doing this pure. Great stuff. Monotone board. We go small. We could go smaller here. Whatever. Find a bluff here on turn. And the jack of hearts river comes and we decide to give up. So you were just asking me about times where we might want to take our foot off the gas. What do we think about this run out? Do you like this give up or would you bluff here?
I think there's more reason to bluff in this than the other one.
Why do you think that?
I think it's very scary if they don't have like king of hearts. Well, okay, we don't block king of hearts, but I think if you all in, they can only call with king of hearts, right?
How do they have the king of hearts exactly? What combo are you talking about?
How they will have?
Yeah, you're talking about one card. You're saying the king of hearts. I'm asking you what hand actually includes the king of hearts.
King, queen, so that cannot be. That's straight flush. Good question.
Okay, so you need to stop looking at a board and just picking out one card as if you're in a single raise pot where people just have like king of hearts 8. You're in a 3-bet pot. People don't have a lot of offsuit king X. They might have ace king with the king of hearts, but they're usually going to 4-bet that pre, and they don't have pocket kings with the king of hearts, and king queen off could be there, but it's usually going to fold pre, and so there just aren't many combos like that other than the royal flush. So you need to be very careful before we just throw these terms about talking about one card. Like, you need to think about 2 card combinations in 3-bet pots when you're hand reading. Okay, what is the target folding range going to be here, right? What are the kinds of hands that could call turn fold river? Jurgen, over to you. What was your thought process in this hand?
So the folding range on the river is probably a6 without a heart. And then I don't think the queens and kings, if they still have them, but they're not. I mean, mostly they're gonna 4-bet pre. So my thought process here was I think it's gonna be infested with ace and then bunch of pocket pairs with a heart. And then actually the jack is like, if I jam here, I'm saying I have aces or 10s or 7s. I have both because I don't think king high flush. Yeah, king high flush maybe. So I thought it was not a good spot to continue. And I don't know if, for example, ace queen with the queen of hearts will fold. So that's why I decided to not continue and give up.
There are a couple of things here. One thing is that this river card makes villain some boats, which are never ever folding. They're the nuts. And it does make villain maybe villain still has like the odd combo of, say, the royal flush or something like that, which is never folding. They have an uncapped range here, right? So you going all in doesn't look particularly good. I don't think villain has tons of flushes in this node. Like, they could have ace queen off with the queen of hearts or something sometimes, or maybe queens with the queen of hearts that didn't 4-bet, but I think that's usually going to 4-bet pre. And so like, what does villain actually have here? Something like ace 10. That's a very bad hand now. Something like just a normal ace queen that doesn't, like ace queen suited, that doesn't have the heart. Something like jack 10 that's a nuts. So I think there's a bit of polarization going on here. So the first thing I'd point out is that if you're going to bluff this spot, you kind of want to go small. But what I'm worried about in this situation is that 10 and L villains are not so good at folding high absolute strength hands. So if you were to go like 3/4 pot here and villain had a hand like the queen of hearts, it's clearly a bluff catcher. That's all it is. And I don't even think it's a great bluff catcher. It blocks the royal flush. That's really it. It doesn't block any other value hands. Like, you're mainly saying you have a boat or maybe a nut flush, but probably a boat. So I don't actually think this is as good a fold equity spot as we'd like. And it illustrates a key point that when the board runs out in a way that gives people high absolute hand strength hands, hands, they're going to struggle to fold in those situations. So the exception I want to give both of you today is if villain has a lot of hands with names like flush and full house in their range at 10-0, they'll be bad at folding those named hands because, you know, you're kind of smiling there, Jurgen. It's funny that they think that way, but you've got to remember that you're beating people by 13, 14 BB per 100 before the rake comes off in order to be winning at 2 or 3 or 4 after rake. So they are very bad at cards compared to you guys. The result was that villain had ace king of diamonds. Somewhat surprising that they didn't 4-bet, but it is 10-0. This is a hand that's folding. It's folding to a smaller sizing. Most of the hands that are folding to a big size fold to a smaller size. That's why we want to go for a smaller size in this spot. If we're bluffing, I'm just not convinced there are enough hands like this in villain's range. Here we have a hand that Shu played in a 3-bet pot. So ace queen off, standard 3-bet, called, cut off hijack, go for a small bet on flop, king turn, pretty high EV turn for range. You have the ace of hearts. You're like, I don't want to fuel your obsession with like one of the suit because you're obsessed with it. But here it's a little bit useful, right? Because villain's going to fold ace jack of clubs on the turn here if you bet, but they're not going to fold ace jack of hearts. So it does help your fold equity a little bit that you have this card, but it's far from the be all and end all. I think this is a pretty normal bluff spot. We go for the turn bluff, villain calls, river comes, and we decide to follow through for pot. Interesting. Jurgen, what's your take on Shu's bluff in this hand? How do you feel about this one?
I think it's fine. I mean, not much to say about, I guess. I think it's a very natural follow through on the turn, and then on the river, you don't have any showdown value, so checking back has, yeah, I mean, you're almost always going to lose. So yeah, I think you should bluff indeed. And then on the sizing, yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so again, with the sizing, we can ask like how capped, uncapped is the villain, and how many hands that are sensitive to sizing do they have. So they do have quite a few hands in this spot, like king 10, king queen, that could be a bit sensitive to sizing. So I think it's less of a inelastic spot, less of a polarized spot than before for villain. That said, they also get here with a lot of like missed pair plus draw, like queen jack, something like jack 10, 10-9, pocket 10s, pocket queens. I think this is a good sizing. I think the sizing's fine. And the ace of hearts here, by the way, not to like languish in blockers too much, but it's now a negative thing because if villain did have ace jack of hearts, that's probably a hand humans fold, even if solvers don't. So it's probably slightly negative to have the ace of hearts here. I don't actually think it's a huge deal though, and I think this is a good run out for fold equity. Triple Broadway or 2.5 Broadways, this is the case here. Pretty good fold equity spot. Generally people are quite scared of your range here for good reason, and as long as this isn't a station or a whale or something, I think this is a bread and butter kind of bluff, and I like it being our default line. Villain does call with king queen. That's unfortunate. You know, a lot of the time they're going to fold king queen. Sometimes this happens. This is the price we pay. Any thoughts on that, Shu? Any questions?
Maybe I should have go all in. I mean, I have all the kings and aces, right? I don't know.
I think you should like try to resist the temptation to think about the hands you're representing. Like, okay, it is helpful to think, what would my value range do? Aces is not necessarily a hand that would ever go all in because it's just one pair. Queen 10 would go all in. Like if you're going all in, that's something you do with queen 10, with pocket jacks, with something like that. It's not a sizing for aces. And what really matters here is what villain's range is like. The more 2-pair plus they have, the worse it is for you to go all in. The more capped they are, the more you want to go all in. Here, I do think they have quite a lot of hands that are kind of capped. They do have some 2-pair, some straights, but I think they'll raise turn with those. I think all in is reasonable in this spot. It's much more reasonable because they are much more capped. If villain having king queen specifically makes you think I should have gone all in, you're being results oriented. But if you are thinking like they have a lot of capped hands, maybe all in just does really, really well, I think that's fine. Okay, Shu, and in this hand, it's another cutoff hijack hand. We have ace 4 of clubs, we bet flop. We bet turn with the gutter and overcard, pretty standard stuff once again. And on the deuce of spades, we actually elected to give up this time. So you were feeling a little bit, I don't know, a bit shy here, a bit timid. You didn't want to go for this bluff. Do you remember why you chose not to go for this bluff?
I don't remember. I chickened out. Oh, maybe it was like, oh, he could have well, I lose those flush draw, right? Yeah, maybe I should go all in. You're right.
I didn't say you should go all in, but I kind of do think you should go all in. Or you should bluff, because villain's going to get here with all the diamond combos you unblock this time, right? Just to touch on the blockers a little bit here. But the bigger point is just that data for this spot is good. Like you're going to get call folds here, not just from ace queen of diamonds, ace 10 of diamonds, etc. But you're going to get the call fold line from jacks, from 10s, from 10-9 at some frequency, from ace 9 suited, from something like king 10, king jack. Like they are meant to call here. on a run out this dry, make no mistake, King Jack is not meant to fold here whatsoever. This time King Jack blocks your value and is just like near the top of villain's range from a blocker standpoint. So King Jack should never fold, but it will at some frequency because there are regs in this pool that just don't want to stack off the top pair because they think it's underbluffed, and it is underbluffed. So you're going to get more fold equity than you need here. Villain's going to have to call you down with like 10s at some frequency here, I think, because they just don't have enough King X to go around, and they're going to have to never fold a king when they do have a king. Villain never has better than one pair here, basically. And the rule here for you guys is that if Villain often has hands that sound good, 2 pair plus, flushes, straights, even if they should fold them, they probably won't fold them enough. Those are the spots to give up on. In spots where Villain has a lot of just 1 pair and misdraw, these are premium river triple spots. Definitely next time you're in this spot, sure, I'd like you to triple this hand, for sure. Good candidate. No diamond and overfolded spot.
Like all in, it will be fine. I mean, he has just 69 BB.
Yep, I think all in's fine. Absolutely. One other quick point that Jurgen just brought to my attention there about this hand. He said, Shu, I think your turn sizing is terrible and you should be ashamed of yourself. And I said, Jurgen, you shouldn't say that. Like, you should be nicer. And then we turned on the recording and asked him to be nicer about it. So yeah, if you look at this shoe, right, like your value range here is, and it's not from what you're repping, it's just like what you would generally be doing in this spot if you had a value hand. Like you'd be going big with aces, ace king, king queen, pocket nines, threes, because we know that it's 3-3 month at Carrot Corner and 33% off Black Friday sales coming, or has already been. And you would go big with those hands. You try and set up the SPR to get it in by river. And I think this turn sizing is a bit small for what your range is trying to do here, but I don't really hate it exploitatively. I think it's going to perform okay. And finally, the result of the hand when we gave up is the villain did have these 10 of diamonds. This is one that they would fold, and it's not to be results oriented. It's just an example of one of the many hands that they're definitely folding on river. Jurgen, let's start with you with the closing thoughts for this week. What's going to be one of your main focuses this week? What are you going to be thinking about as you're putting in your volume?
Triple barreling off in good spots, and thinking about how capped they are when we come to the river and have to decide if we pull through or not.
And sizing.
Yeah, sure.
Good.
That's for that. That's a very important one.
Cool. Shu, what's going to be one of your main focuses this week?
I will become a triple barrel in position 3-bet pod maniac. That's gonna be me.
Just remember, queens wasn't a triple. If you've got a lot of showdown value, check will be better. You're looking for times when villain's range is weaker in absolute strength. You're looking for times when they don't have to fold flushes or fold trips or fold straights, and you're attacking them when they've got a lot of 1 pair and worse. And also, blocker wise, don't worry so much about this one of a suit thing. Get that out of your head. Prioritize the spot, the node, watch the game plan, and is it an exception to that? Do you have too much showdown value, or is it a spot where villain's range is too strong? Those are the only real exceptions to this game plan. All right, guys, we'll see you back here next time on the Race to 25NL. Don't forget to check out all of our content that Shu and Jurgen are making their way through as they strengthen their game on carrotcorner.com. All right, get out here.